Is it possible that government attacks against peaceful farmers and draconian regulations on our food are directly linked to fake news? Hello, my name is Liz Reitzig, and this is part 2 of a 3-part series on raw milk. The history of raw milk in America, how it got to where it is today, and a solution to procuring one of nature's greatest foods. How did we get to where we are today? From the early 1800s, America's largest cities kept thorough records of all deaths. For example, in New York City in 1814, of all recorded deaths, 32% were of children under 5 years old, and that increased to 50% by 1840. Records in other major cities were similar. By the mid to late 1800s, distillery dairies were rampant in many U.S. cities. Tragically, these dairies contributed to the high infant mortality rate, including deaths from tuberculosis. These distillery dairies operated without oversight. What limited exposure there was highlighted the terrible conditions prevalent in these dairies. In 1858, respected illustrator and journalist Frank Leslie published a scathing expose on distillery dairies. 3 days after Leslie's expose hit the newsstands, rather than shut down or change how distillery dairies operated, New York Mayor Daniel Timon uselessly ordered the city police department to crack down on milkmen with expired milk cart licenses. Leslie's accurate portrayal of swill dairies did little to improve conditions beyond surface action. The corrupt swill milk industry was not willing to give up their deadly but lucrative product. They hired lobbyists who convinced New York politicians to speak in favor of swill milk and block proposed legislation. A New York City official even taunted Leslie about corruption in the city legislature. "They dare not ban swill milk. Don't you know that every one of those cows has a vote?" A result of this government corruption, sickness caused by bad milk was responsible for almost 1/4 of all childhood mortality in Manhattan until 1891. In 1894, Nathan Straus opened 4 depots throughout New York, offering sales of sterilized milk, raw milk, modified milk, and coal, all side by side. The milk was from a farm in Delaware County, New York. His first aim was to obtain as pure a milk supply as possible, and for this purpose the dairy was inspected by a veterinarian of the New York Board of Health and was approved by him. Despite the fact that raw milk was sold along with the sterilized milk, there seems to be no documentation of raw milk illnesses from any of Straus's milk depots. This supports Henry Coit's teachings in the safe method of sanitary raw milk production and transportation standards. Nathan Straus, the world's biggest promoter of sterilized milk, knew that a clean dairy meant having healthy milk, raw or sterilized. With all of these claims that sterilized milk saved the day, could it have actually been that sanitary farming practices and advancements in distribution were really the reason for fewer milk-borne illnesses? The most important source of contamination is undoubtedly the dairy, where dirty and ignorant methods are almost universally employed, not only during the milking, but in the subsequent care of the milk. Delay in transportation affords time for the multiplication of the germs which have entered the milk. It is evident that this danger may be met in one of 2 ways. Best, by a reformation in the dairy methods and the manner of transportation, but failing in this, by sterilization. For 50 years, safe milk was sold throughout the country through the efforts of Dr. Coit's Certified Raw Milk Program and Straus's sterilized milk. By the end of World War II, 3.7 million of America's farms had milk cows, with the majority selling raw milk to their families neighbors, and local distributors. For years, farmers resisted the relentless pressure to pasteurize their milk. But government and big corporate interests had to shut down small farms in order to increase profits. The weapon of choice to deal this deadly blow, a raw milk assassination through the use of fake news. In 1944, 45, and 46, a series of dishonest articles were published in popular magazines. These articles were designed to destroy raw milk's good reputation, and it worked. How, you ask? Fear. The coup de grace and the assassination campaign on raw milk began with a 1944 article in Ladies' Home Journal titled Undulant Fever. This article was written without accurate documentation and falsely claimed that tens of thousands of people in the U.S. suffered from raw milk-related fevers and illnesses. A year later, Coronet magazine published an article full of lies titled Raw Milk Can Kill You. The malicious Coronet article, written by Lieutenant Commander Harold J. Harris, was then similarly repeated in articles published in the Progressive and a year later in the Reader's Digest. Harris's original Coronet article claimed that a fictitious town called Crossroads had an epidemic of undulant fever. Harris wrote, "Crossroads, USA, is in one of those states in the Midwest area called the breadbasket and milk bowl of America. What happened to Crossroads might happen to your town, to your city, might happen almost anywhere in America." Harris goes on to give lurid details of undulant fever allegedly caused by raw milk. Harris writes about a false epidemic that spread rapidly as it struck 1 out of every 4 persons in Crossroads. And another lie is presented as fact in his article when he claims that, despite the efforts of the 2 doctors and the state health department, 1 out of every 4 patients died. To add even more frightening fuel to this fake news firestorm, Harris's lies were widely spread by respected newspapers throughout the United States. Much like fake news articles that go viral in today's social media, lack of fact-checking and blind trust in media took its toll. Raw milk's reputation was forever tarnished, and the public demanded action. Sadly, after the damage was done, the truth came out when Harris admitted in an interview with J. Howard Brown of Johns Hopkins University that there was no town of Crossroads. The outbreak was fictitious and represented no actual occurrence. His article was entirely fabricated, a lie. Why would he, as a lieutenant commander, lie about something that had the potential to affect millions of people adversely? This raw milk assassination not only gave big corporations huge profits, it gave them control over people's freedom of choice. A devastating side effect of the milk sterilization movement was the death of hundreds of thousands of America's small farms. And here we are now, fighting for the existence of our small farms. Ronald Reagan's administration put the nail in the coffin for raw milk choice when he allowed, at the behest of Ralph Nader, the FDA to ban the interstate transportation of raw milk for human consumption. Government agencies, influenced by big business, continually use draconian measures to harass and attack our local farmers. As a mother of 5 growing children, through government-sanctioned warning labels, I could legally smoke and drink through my pregnancies. I can legally feed my children soda pop and fast food 3 meals a day. But it is against the law for a farmer I know and trust to provide me the milk I choose for my children. This is about choice. Your choice to choose what is best for you and your family, and my choice to choose what is right for mine, without the risk of government aggression and harassment to criminalize this normal, peaceful human interaction. Armed with the truth about the history of raw milk and how we got to where we are today, how can we take away the criminal penalties for the farmers and consumers who wish to consume this nearly perfect food. Thank you.